Can you convey your love in words? All you can do is give a verbal description of your feelings. Similarly, you can only tell people that you are hurt, but it is you who feels the pain. Your description cannot transmit your feeling to another person. It is the same with the mystical experience. You know what you feel. It is experiential, and a doubt cast over your experience by someone who has never had such experience would be similar to someone who has never loved before, doubting your love for another. Only lovers know what lovers feel. Their inner world is invisible to others. But in the same way that a lover knows his love, a mystic knows divine reality. Bypassing various definitions of mysticism and divinity, which depend on a time and a place in history, we should focus on that which unites all spiritual paths, the desire for a deeper spiritual connection with oneself and with all that is. It is the underlying reason for the continuous sacrifices of yogis and monks of all kinds. I know it by experience. I was one of them, a spiritual seeker. I know the burning desire for unity, which feels divine when it is actually experienced. I know a thirst for knowledge that can only be satisfied with crystal clarity. I know the feeling of peace and deep spiritual contentment when one finds one's path. There are many ways that are designed to bring us closer to what some people call God, divine ground, Buddhahood, the self of all selves, or any other name one chooses to call the transcendental spiritual experience that is accessible under certain conditions. Spiritual growth can be affected by the proximity of a person to higher states of consciousness in which the transcendental becomes an experience. And just as our bodies need food to grow when we are born, so is our subtle body, a divine body, made of consciousness and bliss. Generally speaking, we are all born with it, and we live with it for the first years of our lives before cultural mechanisms set in and alienate us from our own divine nature. You were that when you were 3 years old. You were that when you were 5. However, later, when you were growing up, the world full of magic and wonder began to dissipate, slowly turning into the dream that we call childhood. But the dream was real. You lived it. You remember it. We were led to believe that this delightfulness and purity of perception becomes inaccessible for an adult, who at best has retained a vague memory of this state of being. We are led to believe that the stress of daily life and fear of the future is normal. It's how people are. It's what it means to be a grown-up. But is it? The transformation from an innocent, happy child into a neurotic, depressed, fearful adult is natural? A butterfly emerges from a caterpillar, not the other way around. What happened to us, to the beautiful selves that we knew when we were children? Where are our spiritual wings that could take us out of the matrix? The culture has taken them away from us. The ideologies scripted into our minds are the spiritual thieves that stole our youth and blamed it all on aging. This was shown to me by Huachuma, also known as San Pedro cactus, an ancient shamanic medicine used in Peru for thousands of years and still used today for healing and divination. The cactus opens up your vision and lets you see yourself and world with a clarity that is absent in people's lives. I assume that the Diamond Sutras of Buddhism were named for their clarity, but with all honesty, I have never seen anything superior to the clarity of mescaline-containing cacti of Peru and Mexico. Mescaline is a diamond vision, a vision that has the power to transform your life. Huachuma is living magic that you can experience, not only read about. It was the best kept secret of South America that is now out in the open. Why? Because we have reached a point when greater help is needed. Our politicians, philosophers, religious leaders, and luminaries of science have failed us. Living in a world in which the blind lead the blind is a mess. Just look around you. What do you see apart from chaos? What do you feel apart from confusion and fear? Did the universe appear and the stars form planets with life on them so we can find ourselves in such misery and despair? Is it what we were born for? Is this the peak of our human potential? I believe that we all know the answer, but perhaps we are afraid and unable to break through the hypnotic noises of mechanized society. How different life is outside your city, outdoors. Nature, with its healing beauty and calming sounds, is just a block away. Sacred plants are nature's arms, reaching to us with a friendly gesture, waiting for us to respond. When you take Huachuma in nature, the only place it should be done, you connect to it in a way you had not imagined possible. Like a child who is fully conscious, you absorb its healing powers with all your being. Time slows down and nearly stops. It brings you to the present moment when you begin to see life as it happens, a moment of interaction with existence that usually goes unnoticed in daily life. Huachuma emphasizes this moment as the moment of Zen. You feel relaxed as grass, fluid as a river, light as wind, warm as sunshine, and bright as daylight. You lay on the ground looking up at and watching fluffy clouds play like little puppies in the sky. The wind makes you feel as though you are up there playing with them. Sometimes we have to reach a stratosphere with our minds to find peace. But further is still better than nowhere. As you continue to observe the gently passing clouds, you realize that the moment itself is eternal, even though it appears as it is moving through time. And with it, you understand the immortality of the soul that is only having a body to flirt with time. Such a profound spiritual experience makes an impact on your life in a deeply transformative way. It allows you to see yourself and the world in a different light, the light that is brighter than the light of day. This state of consciousness brings tears to your eyes, the tears of happiness and well-being. It is deeply healing. When the doors of perception are open, the idea of working hard all of your life so you can retire at 65 appears delusional. The anxiety for the future dissipates like a morning fog when you are fully embracing the present. You begin to understand that there cannot be tomorrow without today, and this moment is the only time when you exist. The future you imagine is a mere fantasy that you might never see come true. I remember once one of our guests told me about her father, who worked so hard all of his life to save for his retirement that she barely remembers him being home. Then her father died from cancer before he could retire. Life is not without irony. Her story struck me. I could feel her pain while listening. I thought about what a child must feel living with an absentee father. Living just for the future isn't healthy after all. Huachuma helps you put things in perspective and teaches you priorities. This leads to equilibrium. Huachuma heals mental suffering in a miraculous way. It gently overcomes any psychological barriers, including treatment-resistant depression, with which a large number of people who consult mainstream psychiatry and use medication are affected. When depression is ruling your life, you feel hopeless, and joy is distant. Huachuma is true hope, and when you take it, you begin to feel that you have detonated a mountain to create a landslide just to kill some weeds growing in your field. That's how you see your depression during the experience and afterwards, as just a few weeds in your mind. But there is so much more to this amazing medicine than a cure for depression. Apart from sensible health benefits, you begin to feel as though your depression was in fact a blessing for guiding you towards sacred plants. Mystical experience leads to a profound perceptual shift that allows a person to see one's life in objective light. Seeing often leads to healing and change. Clarity of spiritual insight is needed to overcome psychological and philosophical problems. This is why theoretical knowledge can be compared to a car with a flat tire. It drives, but very slowly. When the doors of perception are opened, the invisible landscape brings awe and inspiration and becomes a new force in your life to guide you through it. Huachuma can turn your life into a spiritual journey that you embrace with the utmost gratitude, willingness, and joy. It makes you feel what a caterpillar feels the moment it transforms into a butterfly and flies away. This moment is the epiphany of your spiritual life, transformative and long-lasting. But this process does not happen automatically. Plenty of people drop acid on a weekly basis, yet still, there are not many sages among them. Having an experience of a non-ordinary reality opens you up to new possibilities but does not necessarily make you wise. Spiritual growth is a combination of spiritual experiences, reading, contemplation, and integration of all of them into daily life. It is the growth of understanding amplified by a person's desire to understand. The experience of universal oneness leads to a profound change in one's worldview. It leaves the monarchical perception of God behind, like leaving crutches behind after a broken leg is healed. This is a major factor behind Western religion's opposition to plant medicine, shamanism, and psychedelics. They dissolve the imperial concept of divinity while allowing you to participate in creation, rather than being its mere manifestation. Thus, a monarchical god or emperor of the universe becomes your parent, and the kingdom of heaven your home, just as things were in the beginning, or so we were told. It cuts out the middleman who claims God's authority on earth. The opposition to psychedelics also comes from the gurus of Eastern tradition, and for the same exact reason. Psychedelics kill devotion and allow you to explore consciousness on your own instead of sweeping an ashram for the rest of your life. The opposition to psychedelics by the secular element of society is just as strong. Psychedelics, when done intentionally, tend to empower the individual and make you think for yourself. Eventually, they make you question authority and the self-serving sumptuary laws under which you must live your life. An individual is always seen as a rival by collectivism, which absorbs individuality like an organism absorbs nutrients from food. But there is a big difference between our wholesome bodies and unwholesome society that legislates against nature, personal freedom, and the liberty to explore one's consciousness using plants. What can be more unnatural? Thus, an opportunity to learn and spiritually grow is prohibited and replaced with self-destructive behavior that is culturally accepted and encouraged. Alcohol, which is responsible for most of the domestic violence, homicides, and car accidents in the modern world, is legal and is given you instead. The facts are shocking if you take the time to look at them. It's like they took from you your gold and gave you plastic. The forces opposing psychedelics are motivated by self-interest, not by a concern for public safety. Keeping people in a spiritual stupor, oppressed and controlled, has only the appearance of safety. Cattle are guarded against wolves only to be slaughtered by people. Who are we guarded against? To expect a cultural change without first changing yourself is like expecting rain without rain clouds. To have an effect, we need a cause. Plant medicine shamanism provides an opportunity to pause, step aside, and look at your life with great clarity. This clarity leads to healing and change. Freedom of choice and a pursuit of happiness are not possible in a restrictive environment regulated by an iron fist of unjust laws that are based in politics, not science. Restrained from self-exploration via the plant medicine, we are left with playing a role instead of being who we are.
my spiritual search and a strong desire to find truth and meaning in my life. Searching for shamans, I found Howard Lawler, a founder of Spirit Quest in Iquitos, with whom I drank ayahuasca in Huachuma for the first time. And this opened me up to the whole new spiritual dimension that I always knew existed, but I didn't know where to look for it. Well, during the 3.5 years we've been working together, we had many deep conversations. Perhaps the most important thing I learned from him is the importance of the mesa, which is the altar and the energetic anchor of ceremony. And through him I met with Martin, who is Chavin Huachumero, with whom Howard works when he traveled to Chavin, and we became friends with Martin, and he became my second teacher. I faith in my path, and he confirmed that no one owns the medicine and it opens to all. If you hear a calling, you answer it. I moved to Peru in April 2009. And when I came here, I was taking medicine by myself and walking around, looking for ceremonial places to take people to. Well, my personal work is still ongoing, but it became secondary to the service to others. It's about how to bring people together and share this divine medicine in the best possible way. Huachuma, it's love.